Chaim. Everybody knows the Rebbe's letter that the Rebbe sent when it was Arboim Shana, and the lashon from the Rebbe was Olai Hachev v'Haschus Godel lehatzia ulevakesh, to learn from the Torah of my father doing the Farbrengen. So if the Rebbe is asking Olai Hachev v'Haschus Godel, so let's learn together something from the Baal HaHilula of today. So as the Rebbe kocht sich as Chof Ov is 40 Yom, 40 days before Rosh Hashanah. So he brings here from Reb Leivik that al yedei tkiya shefer nimshochim gvures memutokes. Hainu ma she'asoten shum istaifus hagvures hakoshes bo lekatrik. K'mei shekosu vayhi hayem goes on Rosh Hashanah, vayove bnei elikim, vayove gam asoten. So the soten is mekatrik before shefer, and before tkiyas HaKadosh Baruch Hu yeshev al kisei din. But after that is tkiya shefer, but tkiya shefer is gvures memutokes, me'arbi mimesasoten k'may mechaza v'chulu. When is happening tkiya shefer is bizman tfilas habeker, that is a zman of chsodim, המכוון בתקיע שפר להמשיך גבורס ממותוקס, שהם ממותוקס ברחמים וחסודים. כי אם שהשפר עצמי is from אלה של יצחק בחינס גבורס, and he's matil charodo בחינס גבורס, but he's coming from Yitzchak, like Yitzchak is after the Akedah is nimtak b'chsodim de Avram. The Shofar himself, the halacha is that the shear of the shofar is a tefach, and he brings the lashon of the Gemara, kedei sheyachazenu beyodei. He's holding the shofar veyeroe lekan ulekan. You can see it from both sides. Sheyachazenu, so he's explaining, holding biyad yamin from chsodim from Avram veyeroe lekan ulekan. K'mei shikover Avram shem amokim ha'u Hashem yira sheyomer Hashem ayem b'Hashem yeroe. So there's two times Yireh. Yeroe lekan ulekan. Re'iyah from Shnei Atzdodim. Says Reb Leivik, ve'yeshleimar, the shofar atzmei is the b'china from Yitzchak. He's from the Eile shel Yitzchak. And the shir is kedei sheyachazenu b'yodeh ve'yeroe lekan ulekan, ve'yeroe lekan to Avraham before Yitzchak, and then lekan to Yaakov achar Yitzchak. The chsodim of Avraham and rachmim of Yaakov will be mamtik Yitzchak from base Tzadov. And that the Tevis ve'yeroe lekan ulekan is gematri Avraham Yaakov berchuven. V'ashefar atzmi gvuras the Yitzchak ochus ubiyad aderech reiches biyad mishvan. That's why we say before Tkiyah Sheva we say nedivei amim nesofu am elekei Avraham. Why are we mentioning Avraham davke? Because nimteku hagvuras, the time of Tkiyah Sheva is mituk hagvuras b'chsodim de Avraham. ומכל מוקים, because the שפר is גבורס בעיקר, אם שהתקיעס הם בזמן תפילת הבוקר, אם כל זה השני מתקיע ולא ראשון, בש"ס העלה לראשון מקרי, סהר לקידיסו בראשון אף למד בייסו, בישנה אישה מהו הלושן שני וראשון, אבל למה שחיס מוסף, but ראשון is חסד, and שני is גבורה, like ששת ימי בריישס, ים ראשון is חסד, ים שני is גבורה, so אברהם is ראשון, ויצחק is שני, זהו שהשני מתקיע, השני is בחינס גבורה, תקיע שפר is גבורה. Then he says, "When Hallel is Miloshin Yohel that's Pchinas Chesed." So Arisha Makres Hallel, Hallelu Kriv Gud Chesed, Hallelu Beteka Shefer Gvur. The Hasheni goes on the Shliach Tzibur from Tfilas Musaf. Musaf is B'Yisei, Pchinas Yesef, Tzaddik Notil Smol Yitzchak Yitzchak, V'im Kol Ze Gam Musaf is Nechshab B'Tfilas HaBeiker, Ki Yisei Nimshah Gam Chesed, Beiker de Yesef, Beiker Davon, V'ayim B'Zei Abolok Dafresh Dalet, B'Yoazer Sham. Hainu HaShefer Atzmei is Gvur de Yitzchak. And Ham Tokos says, She'eches B'Yode V'Yiroe Lekan de Avrom, or Lekan de Yaakov, and it's happening Amosai in Tfilas Musaf de Yesef. So Ham Tokos says to Avraham, Yaakov, and Yosef. So he brings in number 24 that Avraham is Begimatria 248, Yaakov is 182, Yosef is 158, the Sachakel is 586, and that's the number of Shefer. So Avraham, Yaakov, and Yosef, they are mamtik the Gvuras from Yitzchak. Ve'echaze beyad, Yad is the number of David. HaMechuven b'chol ze is to be mamshich to Malchus. That midose shel David ukemama, the whole inner of Rosh Hashanah is kedei shetamlechuni aleihem ubameh b'shefer. Chaim l'chaim. Gegen ein bisschen Chaim. Lately, I want to start with a story. Lately, I was invited to a bris, and the Baal Abris is telling me, it's mamish a story that happened mamish lately. He's telling me the Rebbe is door, the Rebbe feared. The story is that his wife was pregnant, but the doctor says they never saw such a complicated situation. And they are completely confused. They don't know what to do. And he had a dream. The Rebbe came to the dream, and the Rebbe is asking him, "What's the name of your wife?" And the Rebbe gave him a blessing. It was the day after. They went to the doctor. The doctor was shocked. He says, "Somebody pray for you. It's not normal. What I saw days before, what I see this, all the problems disappear." So he decided, he's a Sfardische Ingeman, he decided by the bris to give a nomen nach the Frierdiker Rebbe and the Rebbe. And he says, there was a lot of Rabbonim by the bris, but he says, it was, and he has his Rosh Kelel, and he has his Rosh Yeshiva, he has all the Rabbonim. But he says, I was feeling I cannot, when it comes to Kriyas Hashem, has to be a Shliach should give the name. So he called me to give the name. So this is something that just happened. So last night we had a big Favringen with 100 people that came for the Chafov. And this person was the sponsor of a big Seuda, and he has no words to thank the Rebbe for just what happened lately. He gave him zwei Namen. Nicht da reingehen in Protim, aber he gave the belt. L'chaim. Today is a very emotional day. Today we have to understand that Chof Ov, when the Rebbe is writing Olai HaCheva Schus, we have to realize how much the Rebbe was suffering from that for years he wasn't there. He was far from his parents, and his parents wasn't by his chasana, and so many years. And he wrote a letter to the Frierdiker Rebbe on Tofesh Tzadik that the matzav of his parents are sehr ernst, and he's begging the Frierdiker Rebbe in Mikan Ratev and the matzav to find the Psarabonus in Arze Sabris in Canada. It was, the Rebbe is writing Tofesh Tzadik, mizet nicht, the matzav wird besser. So by the Rebbe was very, anything that was about his father was very, ad kdei kach, there was Raaskin, that he was not far in Almata, he came to Reb Leivik, and he came for Chof of the year Tovshin Yud Gimel. He came for the first, it was Shabbos, and when he came into Rebbe Tzachana told him that the Rebbe wants he should say a few words by the Verbringen. But Rebaren Diskin. Dacht sich a Seide von Yisrael Diskin. So Rebbe Tzachana asked him, please don't give pain to my son. Be very careful what you're saying. And it was the Verbringen, and the Rebbe is asking him to speak by the Verbringen. So he said a story. The story, what he says, was about that the Reb Leivik didn't want to go. It was Motzei Shabbos. They're taking him for Chkiras. He doesn't want to go till they're not going to give him matches to do the bracha Beirei Me'oreish. And mitamol, the Rebbe is starting to cry. You can see in Teras Menachem, he brings that the Rebbe bocha me'ed. The Rebbe is starting to cry, and the Chassidim are seeing, they was asking him to be mekatzer, and they can. So we have to understand, as today is a day that is sehr verbunden very dear to every one of the Chassidim, the Rebbe's children. And by the Rebbe was very precious, everyone that was doing something for his father. So, my grandfather, Rabbi Yaakov Yosef Raskin, he was in Leningrad, and they took the whole Mishpachas Raskin took the train to run away from the Deutschen Yimach Shemam. It was the last train on Daled Elul Tovshin Aleph that run away. After that day, they bombarded the last bridge. So those who stay in Leningrad, they die from hunger. So it was the last train and then they bombarded. So they was on the train, but they don't know where to go. So they're going till where the train stopped in Omsk, Sibir. And then everybody has to go down, and they don't know what to do. And then there was another trip to go to Alma-Ata. They decide to go to Alma-Ata. And they arrived on Chel Hamoed Tzukis. For the first 2 weeks, they didn't let them go out in the city. But then, and all the other Chassidim, they went to Tashkent, to Samarkand. But my grandfather is always saying that he was feeling a hashgacha protis, that they decide to stay there in Alma-Ata. And the hashgacha protis was that Reb Leivik was not far, he was in Chile. And when came the time, Tovshin Daled, because it was, the decree was he has to be 5 years in exile, in Golus, and the 5 years are finishing Tovshin Daled, was a huge sakana, because they hear that they're gonna ask, the government is preparing a new decree that everybody that is in Golus, they're gonna renew again. So my grandfather was working very hard, and his daughter Tzivia, she was later married to Reb David Bravman. She became friend with a a Jewish woman that she was one very, very well connected with the head of the communist. They was in the hospital together. They were sick, so they was in the same room. So they became close, and they was invited every Friday night. She came for Kiddush, for Suda Shabbos. So they became close. So my grandfather, Rabbi Yaakov Yosef, is explaining to his daughter that we have to do something urgent to push it, to save the situation. Now we need money. We need 25,000 ruble. So my grandfather was running around to collect money. He met Rabbi Yosef in the Moitin, and he's asking Rabbi Yosef in the Moitin, Midaf Ratev and the Matzev, can you give? He gave 3,000 ruble. Baruch Hashem, they collect the money, and they was matzliach to change the dates, whole geschäft, and Baruch Hashem, before the Nupkude came from Moscow, that's it, he was released. My father on that time, he was 11 years old, and he was always telling us that he remembers that my grandfather told to his children, the Rebbe's Mechuten is coming out. We have to go be Mekabel upon him. So it was after Pesach, and they all went by the train station to be Mekabel upon him. And my father is telling me he was tall. He was what a hadras upon him. He says, I'm a child of 11 years old, has such a reishem, how the hadras upon him of Reb Leivik. And right away, there was Mesader, he should be in a house. And so my father is always telling her that it was a time of Melchama. There was no yeshivas, there was no chadorim, there was nothing. So where they spend the time? By Reb Leivik, in his house. And he remembers that he was saying Torah for hours. And it was mamish a tchias amesim for the Jews living in this area. It was a real tchias amesim. But later, because all the suffering, and we all know how many times the Rebbe repeats that he was nistalik before this man. With all this, he became sick, and the matzav was becoming worse. And there was a time that the last few weeks, Pashat, he couldn't move from his bed. And my grandfather with the children, all the children was putting on tefillin on him. And he was very, very makpid the way how he's putting the tefillin shel rosh. It was not easy, but everything to have a bissel bread, something, you have to stay online for hours. So the children of the children of my grandfather, they was staying online. Anything that they need, they was here for Reb Leivik. My uncle that he was living in Kfar Chabad, Reb Mendel Raskin, he was there Shabbos, Tisha B'Av. So it was Tzoim Nitche. So Reb Leivik was speaking to him, verbringen with him, and crying and telling him everything, the shlichus that he got from the Rebbe Rashab. And we all know that comes the time of Suda Mafsekes. And he said to Rebbe Tzanchana that he has to go eat. And Reb Leivik, he's not listening. He's continuing. And the Rebbe told him, don't go. Listen. Then when he came home, they was looking for him to take him to the army. So he was saved. At the time was Reb Levi was speaking to him. My uncle, yeah. The day there was Reb Benzion Gaisinski, he was a Skvere Chassid, that he was not far, and he was coming to see Reb Leivik. He came into Reb Leivik and he saw Rebbe Tzanchane crying. He asked her why she's crying. She said because Reb Leivik told her that Al Pi Kabbalah, Chof Ov will be his last day in Elam Hazeh. Zayt gesagt. When he was Nistalek, my father remembers the Levaya. I remember what Rebbe Tzachana says. Odom Godel Avemenos to Mifalozen. And they organized the Shiva in the house, but it was a huge danger because the KGB was checking who's coming and who's going. It was a few weeks after Chofov, they was obligated to stop. It was Pashat HaGreisa Sakona.
To stop what?
To stop the minyanim in the house of Reb Leivik. And my grandfather had Pashat gedacht an Tleifen. He was in a big sakona. Chaim, Chaim. Aha, nu. Rabbi Motschke darf sitzen. So before my grandfather has to leave Alma-Ata, he asked Rebbe Tzanchane, can I have one of the shofars that you have? Because I don't know where I'm going to be in Rosh Hashanah. So the Rebbe Tzanchane gave him the Schwarze shofar. That's the shofar of the Rebbe Maharash. She had another shofar, the Weiße shofar from Tzemach Tzedek. What's the story? The Rebbe Maharash, he was the Baal Tekiah, and the Tkiyas by the end of davening was somebody else. 1 year, the Rebbe Maharash didn't ask that she give him back the shofar, so he kept it. And this chassid gave the shofar to his son. And the name of this chassid is Reb Yehuda Gorarie, that he was living in Yekaterinoslev, and he was a Mekurav of Reb Leivik. When Rebbe Tzanchane went to Kazakhstan, she asked Reb Yehuda Gorarie, can I have the shofar for my man? And he gave. So now, my grandfather has a very precious shofar. He's getting a letter from the Rebbe. Chof Aleph Mנחem Tafshin Yud. Neida lize mikvor, asher also beyode lehovi mimdinosim elifnim es hashofar shel Amur. I hear that you have the shofar of my father. And Rebel Chaskin is going he's going to be back from Eretz Yisrael to here to New York. I will thank you if you can give over the shefer and all the hitzoes hakruches. I will take care. Neisaf al teidosi harabo. So you have to understand that for my grandfather it was very hard to give away the shefer. Yeah. And Tovshin Yud. So he wrote to the Rebbe, Chof Aleph Elu Tovshin Yud, Koshe hoya li lipored me'ashefer. Very hard for, and it yokar etzli mikol hein. And it's been six years that I'm b'Turkey, but I'm happy that the shefer is coming to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe is asking for hitzoes. I have no hitzoes. I gave the shefer als iskashrus upan, but if se nicht schwer, if the Rebbe kann mir mezake sein mit der Chefetz von dem Friedrich Rebbe. So the Rebbe answer on Gimel the Sliches Tovshin Yud, I got your letter, קיבלתי בריב תח es ha-shefer, ותבוסה לשקיה, כבקושוסי, I will give him to Bnei Hatomim Reb David, a chelek from the mispachas, from the tichel, from Kvei Kedushas Meir V'chol Me'admur HaKam, and write to your son how you want to have it. And he asked to the Rebbe what to do with this tichel. The Rebbe told him he should use it for deck in the shefer, because he was about to care. So there was a very deep kasher. What? The tichel?
Not Raskin.
Who was the shefer?
Ah?
Son.
The shefer Tzemach Tzedek is geblieben bei Rebbe Tzachane.
Oldest uncle of his.
Das ist geblieben, aber der schwarze Shefer von Rebbe Maharash,
Now it's in the family. They don't have it.
das weiß ich nicht.
Rebbe can't be the shefer.
Yeah, each gets a babenzi. Each go a babenzi.
You have to understand. You can. Who is the tichel yet? He has children. So you go into the children, kleine Sticklach. Kleine Sticklach von der Mitpachas. The Rebbe even told them, soll nehmen schnell the tichel, because it's getting kürzer und kürzer.
So what happened to the tichel? What happened to the tichel?
He got it.
No, what happened after? It's in your family?
Yeah. He got it. Everybody got a little piece.
I remember the tichel.
You remember that? Anyways, he had a deep connection with Rebbe Tzachana, and I have here a letter. He was always, when he was writing to Rebbe Tzachana, he was writing Eim HaMelech. And Rebbe Tzachana told him that sie hat hanoe von dem Titul. Eim HaMelech. So she's writing to Rabbi Yaakov Yosef, and she says, Yarich Hashem shneis b'ni shlito, hakibud eim shelei gdeilo b'mido yisera. Yechazek Hashem briusei behatzlocha berevtu. She's writing about the Rebbe that he's kibud eim. So there was always letters between Rebbe Tzachana and Rabbi Yaakov Yosef. There's a letter of Gimel Macheshvan Tovshin Yudches. That when comes, Gimel Menachem Ov. When comes Chedesh Ov, mit dem Monzech wegen der Yedidim, was ein Gewinn, the good friend that was around us in jenen Momenten. Gimel Menachemov, Tov Shin Yud Ches. Years later, my brother, that he's the shliach in Burlington, his daughter was a counselor in Russia, and they was on the way, Kivrei Tzadikim. She had a terrible accident. And the accident happened on Gimel Menachemov. The shluchim there in Russia, they know in Russia you can do nothing, so they call urgent to Eretz Yisrael to get a medical plane. So they came with a medical plane to take her, and b'derech hateva they saw there's nothing what to do, but they took her. She was in a coma. Exactly on Chaf Av, she opened up the eyes, and Baruch Hashem, she's married and she's on shlichus. And by the chasana in Burlington, the doctor from Eretz Yisrael, he came for the chasana. He said there was b'derech hateva, there was nothing what to do, but we have a munah. But he saw be'ene basar. So it's a pele as their brief, the day of the accident was Gimel Menachemov, und der Rebbe Tzachana sagt, wir trachten wegen die Yedidim, wo sein Gewinn herum uns. So there was one day, Rebbe Tzachana asked my grandfather, my man has no name. Can you see? He should have a name. So my grandfather went,
No one named after him.
Yeah. On that time was no names. My grandfather went to Reb Chaim Scholbrook, and he told him, he heard that in the Mishpacha Dorten is somebody is pregnant. Told him there's a bakoshe from the Rebbetzin. So that was the first name. Was by the Mishpachat Brook, Reb Leviche Brook, and the Rebbe's letter was Goram Keiras Ruach Rav. It's a huge nachas ruach to the Rebbe. And I have the letter here that Rebbe Tzachana is writing to my grandfather to send a matone for the boy that was born and has the name. L'chaim, l'chaim.
Tosh Yud Beis.
Yeah, Toshin Yud Beis. Can you imagine? From Toshin Dalab is Yud Beis, there was no name. Ksiva v'chasimateva l'shanateva u'mesuka. Ksiva v'chasimateva l'shanateva u'mesuka. Ksiva v'chasimateva l'shanateva u'mesuka. Ksiva v'chasimateva. Tzatshua. Ksiva v'chasimateva l'shanateva u'mesuka. Ksiva v'chasimateva u'mesuka. Ksiva v'chasimateva l'shanateva L'shana tova u'mesuka. Ksiva v'chasimateva l'shana suka. Ksiva v'chasimateva. By WhatsApp, the whole. Shana Teva Mesuka Ziva Shana Teva Mesuka Ziva Machasima Teva Leshana
Umesuka Ziva Machasima Teva Leshana Teva Umesuka.
The Rebbe wrote a letter to my uncle Reb David Raskin that he wants he should write zichroines from that moment, and also to my grandfather. So my grandfather wrote a letter, Chof Aleph Elul Tov Shin Yud, and he's saying that the Shefer of the Rebbe Marash, I send it to Rebbe David Raskin. Koshe, he's writing to the Rebbe, Koshe, Hayali Lipored from the Shefer. And he says, and by you mother, there's another Weisse Shefer Mefusam from Tzemach Tzedek, and here's the answer. Und it is übergelost in Russland by the Avrechim Rabinovich, Tzvi Hirsch und Mendel from your country Nasav. And also the Tanya of Bleivik is geblieben Bazei, mit Asach HaGoyes, mit Ksav Yad. I remember what he wrote on Perek Mem Aleph, Binyan Get v'Sefer Torah, why Get before Sefer Torah, and had geschrieben, Mastav sein früher Sumera, and then Masetev. And he's writing to the Rebbe that the last weeks was hard for him to put on tefillin. And Bonai Sheyichyu, my children, they was putting on tefillin, sometimes Ani Be'atzmi. And I remember how he was makpid about the kesher from tefillin should be higher than the guma of the Erev.
What does that mean?
On the bone, not on the bone, the back.
The guma of the
Not in the guma.
Means on the bun and not,
The dalit should be on the.
yeah, on top.
Should be under his toe.
And it was always hard to be mesader that the retzua should be mehudekes al harish and should not move. He says the last week before his istalkus, I had a bris by a child of 4 years old. And after the bris, I came to visit Reb Leivik. And he was so happy that I came, and he was holding my hand very strong. And he told me, Ich bin dir mekane, das getan heintag, a greise Sach that you made a bris to a child of 4 years old. And he sat down on the bed, and he started to speak about number 4 al Pikabola. Pikabola from the Zera Kodesh. And then he brought a story from the Zera, Metatana, Repedos, and there is 4 things in a bris milah. There is Daled Eres, there is Daled Inyonim in Seder HaMilah, and he was explaining the Zera bekel romu mitachayis like a gesunter Mensch. Chaval that I didn't write, because when he told me, I remember everything. He spoke to me more than a half hour. And we was walking together outside to spazier. It was very hot in the day, but in the evening you can have fresh air. And he was telling Sipurit Tzadikim and Divrei Drush. And he says, Bederech Nes, I was saved from the Katshebe, and I came to Moscow. And my mishpach is geblieben in Alma-Ata noch a halbe Jahr till they came to Moscow. So there was a Yechides, Chof Hei, Sivan Tov Shechof Hei. He's asking the Rebbe that al dvar the mitpachas that he got b'matone for the shefer, how to use the schus. So the Rebbe told him, Faran zmanim was is netik, nutzmen dasuis. He didn't want to say. Then the Rebbe asked him, Bist abal tekeya? He said, yes. So nu de minige doch eget al pishu genoeg, that you have to be verdecken the shefer mit a mitpachas for the broche. This is a zman choshuv to ausnutzen the mitpachas zu verdecken die shefers. Und nebst ist zu klein, verdeckt man auf dem Mitpachas noch am Mitpachas. Und dann, there is other times, was mir versteht allein, wenn auszunutzen. In the year Tovshin Zayin, the Rebbe wrote a letter to Reb Shneur Zalman Butman. Can you tell me when was the histalkus of my father? If it was Chof Menachemov, before Shkia or after Shkia? ואולי יש לברר אצל יעקב יוסף ראסקין שהיה שם. Maybe you can be mevarer by him that he was there. And then my grandfather answered that he remembers clear that it was Chof Menachemov before Shkia. Chaim.
What about the debate that you have with Gimel? Gimel.
I think the Friedike Rebbe hat geschrieben, Arishim, dachte ich.
Das ist alle was mit Chof. Du sollst im Rem Chof Gimel.
Was sagt er?
Als in Anheb hat man gemeint, dass ich gewinnt Chof Gimel Menachemov.
Friedrich hat geschrieben.
Er hat geschrieben wegen des Talkes, ja. When it was Aboim Shana, so my grandfather and all the children came, it was Shabbos Chofov, and by the Verbringen, the Rebbe says, all die, was haben gehad the schus to be Meshamish, dem Taten, they should come up, to sagen L'chaim. So this is what the Rebbe wrote to my grandfather. There was a likut that came out, a likut Elul. So he wrote like this, Metzurov baze likut Elul, Seife Teves de Hanal Arboim, Ani ledeidi v'deidi li, Eid inyan ha'me'orer al ze Arboim shono, Shehu ubonov shlito, Shimshu v'chulu v'chulu. So it's 40 years of Chofov that he and his children, Shlita, they was Meshamish, his father, Shimshu v'chulu v'chulu. That was a answer that he got on that time. So we see how it was sehr tired by Rebbe. So here's a letter, very interesting letter that my grandfather is writing to Rebbe Tzachana. You have to see the title. Harabonis hatznur ve'akvudo eishes chover ve'eim hamelech. Moras Chana Schneerson, Shalom Uvrach. Bossi, I have a bakoshe. He's not letting the Maisem the Shefer, he's not letting it. It's been a long time that I want to ask something, and I don't have lehiravti eis benafshi lichtev. I want to get the Heilige Tmuna that the Friedike Rebbe and the Havdi L'chaim Aruchim Ayerzun, the Rebbe, are sitting by a table of Shachmat. I have a Sach Gaguim to get this picture, und ich bin sehr nispol geworden von der Kabbalah Seel und der Her das Kodesh, was ist auf der Picture. Mein Schwer, when he was in Paris, mein Schwer or mein Edim, no, mein Edim. When he was in Paris, he got this picture from Rebbe Tzachana, but he doesn't want to give me a copy. So, when I heard from my son David Sheiche that this Rosh Hashanah hat man geblasen in der schwarze Schäfer von Rebbe Marash, was ich habe es genommen in Alma-Ata 8 Jahre zurück und ich habe es geblasen in ihm for 6 years. And I got a letter from my son, der Rebbe Schlitter, hat gemont von mir und ich gesagt dem Emes, als sie gewinnt sehr schwer von mir, der Preder, Lei yochelti li pored מהשפר, שהיה יוקר לי מפנינים, אבל לא יוכלתי חס ושלום לעבר על בקושס ודרישס כבי קדוש עד מושליטה. So, Zachte Vestofshin Yud Beis, he's writing to Rebbe Tzachana, I'm Asir Roiv Teido Bracha, that you send me this picture through my son David, that I had so much gaguim to get the picture, and I promise you I will keep it begins the Eitzres. The famous picture, the Rebbe mit der Rebbetzin.
He publicized.
The Rebbe mit der Friedrich Rebbe.
He's the one who, thanks to him, everybody knows.
Here it's more clear, this picture. So the Rebbe Tzachana sent him this picture. Wo ich das gewähnt? Es steht, dass wenn der Friedrich Rebbe was in der Städtel in Austria, in der Städtel Frechtles, in der Jahr Tofrisch Zadig sein.
1936.
Ja, das ist doch. Das machen wir von dort. Wenn ich da Kasse bin, ein Schöne gewinnt dort, nein,
So the Friedrich in Yemei Breishis is saying as the Friedrich Rebbe hat gemacht hat Tnai mit der Rebbe, aber soll spielen mit der MS. Und der Friedrich Rebbe hat gesagt, man darf spielen ordentlich.
Als der Rebbe gespielt nach Weg, der Friedrich Rebbe soll gewinnen. Der Friedrich Rebbe das bemerkt, hat gesagt, man darf spielen
Ordentlich.
Später hat er gespielt. Weiter machen wir. Friedrich Rebbe. Der hat gemacht und gewinnen.
A Koponim,
No, später.
später.
Die ganze Meister. Ja,
Mit allen gewinnen.
Springer, der Konsul, der...
Durch der Zroldige Konsul.
Rabbi Raskin, the
Yeah.
Rebbe's father, he put two small tefillin together at the same time, or the Chabad tefillin that everybody, the Chabad people put? Did he put two tefillin at the same time, or the Chabad one?
I don't think so, because he's explaining exactly how hard it was to put on the film.
So it was
So,
one thing. The Rebbe Rosh put two tefillin at the same time. Ah, good. Okay.
That we know.
יש על מי לסמוך. Saving up, Rabbi. Saving up. Very expensive. When what?
When you be a Rebbe, you can do like the
Yeah,
Rebbe.
okay.
Chaim l'chaim.
Didn't davening that Rebbe machen. He didn't daven, he only learned Krishna.
What?
Huh?
Davening he davened with regular film.
No, that's not what he said.
Yeah, only reading Krishna.
Okay, I want you to shema.
Catch
He
mine in the
still
morning.
did it.
It was the year Tovshin Yud Aleph.
Even the other Rebbeim didn't do it. Sure. If you Rebbe could also do it.
Right.
He wants to do it. He wants to do it. He has to find a Lubavitch excuse. That's not good. He wants to do it anyway.
Tovshin Yud Aleph. I'm sure everybody knows the Sikha. The Rebbe says, ich habe gesucht in the ganz Shas, and I find one place talking about Esrim Be'ov. It's in Masechta Tainis. But what's amazing is as so many years, so many Verbringers that Rebbe sich gekocht sich in the Meise of Chofov, that there was no Eitzim, and there was Mishpaches, that they give Eitzim for the Beis HaMikdash. And after Chamishasa Be'ov, Tosha Shkech...
Später weg ist schwer zu schneiden, und sie beworben.
Ja, aber sie da ich hat, dass Sheolu Bnei Hagelo ist nicht gewinnt kein Eitzim in Lischke. Es ist gewinnt eine Armkeit.
Wenn er doch früher nicht gehabt.
Also es steht, sie ist nicht gewinnt... Sie gewinnt eine Armkeit, Jamot. Im Sechte Teines.
Ich hatte doch gerade ganze Jahr gehabt. Nur Zoom hat mir gedacht, also wenn Zoom, gegangen, damals wurde gewinnt schwer.
Ja, mit Satosha Shkecha Shechamo, aber viele, die ganze Jahr, ist echt nicht gewinnt gering zu haben. So der Rebbe steht dort, dass es, wenn es sich ist, das ist das von David oder von Jeov, and the Rebbe says it's the same Mishpacha. The Shaila is, what was, wenn es Schus ist, das ist das Schus von David, aber das Schus von Jeov. The Rebbe is explaining, was is Chof of, that they gave something that you cannot get it in the whole world. Because it's after Chamishasa B'Av, there's no Eitzim. Eitz sheyesh beitelas is posum al gabi hamizbeach. So the first time that they gave Eitzim after Chamishasa B'Av was Chofav. And the Rebbe says, and they was doing that besimcha, and it became a Yom Tov. And the Rebbe brings nicht stam a Yom Tov, because there was another Mishpacha, wo sie pflegen geben, Tisha B'Av, is the Yom Tov is given, as yom afile mot nicht gendig de Tonnes. Ad gedikach, the Yom Tov given grace. So the Rebbe sagt dorten, the Lashon in the Sikha is mizmechanech.
They gave Eitzim, this man Beis HaMikdash, and there was also a fast.
There was different times. Every mishpacha that gave Eitzim, the day was reserved to this mishpacha. Even if it is full with Eitzim, this day belongs to this mishpacha. So the Lashon is, there was Tisha B'Av, I think a Tisha B'Av Nitche, and it was the day that they, gewisse mishpacha was bringing Eitzim, and because it was Yom Tov for them, they didn't finish the fast.
People were fasting Tisha B'Av, his man
It's
Beis HaMikdash.
It's a machloikis.
By Sheni. By
The
Sheni.
time is by Sheni, you are the people fasting at Tisha B'Av.
So the Lashon for Rebbe, it's a mugedike Sikhe, a megita weg a Zach, was sie nicht benimmt so, is a meridike, und mit tut's das noch besimche, und noch verwemmen, verayid, was hat getan avera. By the end of the Sikha, the Rebbe says, it was mamish the beginning, we're talking Tafshin Yud Aleph, that we mizmechanech a ganze do, as mi soll wegem, was mi hat nicht, for a zweiten Niden. So Chof Ov is the Mesiris Nefesh von Reb Leivik. The Mesiris Nefesh that Reb Leivik had, that's Chof Ov. And if you see, there is something that is very... It was the year Toshel Ametes. I remember that Verbringen. The Rebbe was talking about the Matzav in Eretz Yisrael. And those who was on this Verbringens in the year Lametes was Leider, the Camp David. And the Rebbe was pushed screaming from pain. And the Loshin from the Rebbe on jene Jahren, Lametes, melekt Millionen von Iden besakone. So, I remember the first time that the Rebbe spoke when Sadat came to Eretz Yisrael, And there was a big simcha by everyone. The Sholem came and Simamish. And the Rebbe was speaking from the room. We was in 770 downstairs. It was a hookup. And it was the first time that the Rebbe spoke so long, over 2 hours. And the Rebbe, that was the Motzei Shabbos that the Rebbe says, the Maimer V'Shavti B'Sholem. But the Rebbe went very strong against this Sholem. I remember I was going on Mivtzoim. Friday we learn in Old Torah. Friday we go on Mivtzoim. And I met a few Israelis. And I told them the Rebbe is against. Rabbi Shecha lo mevin klum. And we all know the big Churban, everything came from Mitzrayim. That what Hamas got came from Mitzrayim. Akopanim, the Rebbe was screaming, and the Rebbe says like this, Chof Mנחem Lametes, that there is some people in Eretz Yisrael are writing against. They're writing against the Rebbe. Mishrayb titun, and they ask me, Serirt menishton, Mishrayb. So the Rebbe says, I was the Ben Bechor, born in Yekat Ranisav, and every time was given chkires, I have to go, weil ich habe gewusst Russisch und ich habe gedacht reden. Und ich habe schon von damals gekrogen, was mit mir gesiedelt. But the Rebbe said a very strong Aussprach, that ich bin nischaner geworden, der Chinuch, was ich habe gekrogen bei meinen Taten, the education that I got by my father, und später bei der Rebbe der Schwer. But he says, der Chinuch, was ich habe gekrogen bei meinen Taten. And then by the Rebbe the Schwer is, wenn sie do Inyonim von Pekuach Nefoshes, tomen nicht schweigen. So, and that's why, but the Loshen is, ich hab gekrogen de Chinuch bei meinen Taten. And then was the Rebbe the Schwer. So we have to understand there was a very, very deep kasher between the Rebbe and his father. And we all know the letters between the Rebbe with his father, and Rebbe Leivik is guiding the Rebbe how everything has to be. And Pshat, Remez, Drush, Sod means the base of Likutei Sichos. Rebbe Leivik was guiding. Everything has to be Kol HaTorah Kula. So the day, the heintige Tag is a Tag, was der Rebbe ist Mond von uns. Olai hachoiv ve'aschus godel. We should learn from the Torah of his father. So there was a Verbringen, Vov Tishrei Mem Vov, I think it was Shabbos. The Rebbe allemal, every time he was telling how Rebbe Tzachane went to take Rebbe Leivik, he didn't have paper, he didn't have a pen, he didn't have nothing. So she went to make from grass. And always the Rebbe was saying that this is not from the Avedas that the Isha has to do for Iman, and she wasn't a mumche in them. And that's why you see in the books, if you went once in the Rebbe's library, you can see the Sforim. One book is with red color, and one is green color. All depends on the grass. So Rebbe Tzachane hat sich meiser nefesh given for the ksovim of Rebbe Leivik. And very interesting, the Rebbe in Ha'or says, as his appelle, my father wrote 1000 Tegilyenes. And everything we can find at Leis Ato. The only thing that my father wrote that we have is what he wrote in Golus.
What his wife, with the ink that
Yeah,
his wife...
that was in Golus. But 1000 Tegilyenes, when he was the Rov, Leis Ato, we can't find it. So he says that Rebbe Tzachane had got a meredike Mesiras Nefesh, and bees, on that time in Ruslan, the Rebbe Tzachane is writing that people had gepachat zugehen zu ihr reden, because she's a Schneerson. Menschen mehr gehabt zugehen zu ihr. Und sie hat noch Ksovim von ihrem Mann. And she had Mesiras Nefesh. And the Rebbe said that's something very powerful. She had gehabt Mesiras Nefesh because she knew that when we would learn the Ksovim from Rebbe Levi, wird man mezare sein die Gula. This is what the Rebbe says. So we understand, we all know that the Rebbe, every Shabbos verbringen was Rashi Siche, He'ores of the Zeyar. So today is the day to sich verstärken, unser Iskashus zum Rebbe, to learning Teres Levi Yitzchak, and soll Take Mezare sein, die Gula, Amitis war Schleimer, wo she be zeichet zu die Isgalus von der Rebbe, Teche vom Yad Mamesh, L'chaim, L'chaim.
Eigentlich haben wir da reingesetzt. Eingepackt alles vor und dann steht das so. Wenn ich komme, nehmen wir bleiben.
Ja.
Kommen ganz nach
Bis 6 in der Früh.
Wie da alles vor, weiß man nicht. So dort, so wie mich muss dann.
So alles weggenommen? Ich weiß.
It's different from verschiedene Sachen.
Ja, in Stadt
Also
also
sind es verbrennt, begraben, different things.
Die
Rabinowitsch ist
das war schwarz, das ist ja die Sache.
ja, der sei von
Wir kommen nach Himmel, ist geblieben in Stub. Das haben wir etwas geblieben in Stub.
was haben wir eingepackt, ne? Eingepackte Sachen.
Warum wir gewinnen Sachen, das dann will ich so mit sein. Und das voll.
Und das schon, weiß man nicht.
Wenn man das ist, dann haben wir angenommen, das ist voll. Warum?
Ja, ja, da, ja, da, ja, 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 L'chaim, l'chaim. The first Shabbos that Reb Levi came out, he verbringt in the house of Reb Hirschel Rabinovich. And bei das Verbringen he said a story that in the Shtot Liozne was a question of a behema. And the Maise happened on Erev Yom Tov. And the Rov of the Shtot said he cannot paskin halacha, we should go ask the Alter Rebbe. They went to the Alter Rebbe and the Alter Rebbe paskin that the behema is kosher. Shas Hatchak and it's Erev Yom Tov and Hefsed Merubah. In the morning, the Alter Rebbe sent a shliach to announce that the behema is not kosher. So they asked the Alter Rebbe, what's going on? You said that she's kosher, now you have charota? He says, at night, the shach came to me in the dream. And he's asking, make treif the behema, because this is azay paskenich de halacha. And because you, the Alter Rebbe, pasken as kosher, I have a big gerida. Do me a favor. I will do you a favor. I will tell you something that you don't know, that in Bishas and Davnen, your tefillin are moving from the place.
Wow. This is before or after?
Oh yeah? Okay.
Oh, what? The Shach lived before the Alter Rebbe.
Okay.
This is before or
So he's saying the Rebbe made a machor for the story.
No, we told the story. It was printed in Beton Chabad, in Beton Chabad, the story. The Rebbe was writing very sharp. This means that the Alter Rebbe, the Meshachet, the Alter Rebbe, was his mind, he was not in the kosher. Because he gave him a shoichad, he told them a secret, without the Rebbe stopped then to a certain time the Beton Chabad whole thing. It would stop the whole Beton Chabad.
Because of that?
I want to know what the Shach looked like.
But the Rebbe spoke by Fabringen about that? No. There was a zettel.
After doing Taru.
Der Brief ist gedruckt nirgends?
Oh my God.
Aber was ist weiter, wenn die meisten Kinder los mit mir?
Das wird befüllt.
Ich weiß nicht.
Weiter, Kitzer.
Because those octanish has meshuchad, just as this is stam a weis man nicht.
Ça c'est avant ou après?
Hein?
C'est avant ou après Yutet Kitzur?
Je dis pas.
So, kenn ich nicht, that's it.
That's the end of the Maise. The last few weeks before Chafov, there was Mishmores from Anash to be Bar Blevik the whole night. My grandfather is saying, one night I was there, mit Tatomim was heißt Eiser. They announced after the Istalkus, nobody should approach Reb Leivik mit Afrei gehen mikveh. Everybody went to mikveh, and in the Tahara was more than a minyan, and they was holding the Oren on the shoulders till the Beis HaChaim. And only those who went to the mikveh.
Who got to wash his head?
My grandfather was from the Misaskim to make sure that he comes to Kever Yisrael. He even paid a few chaloki that around him should be empty, ponui. And the Rebbe didn't have here exactly what you said, that in Kevet Slubavitch, they printed the date of Chav Gimel Ov. And even when they knew the date of Chav, they didn't know the time. So the Rebbe couldn't be Kaveya Bevados, the Yortzeit of his father. A few years later, when Anash went out from Russia, then was the question to ask to Rabbi Yaakov Yosef. And the reason why he asked my grandfather, he didn't want to ask Rebbe Tzachana, but he didn't want to give her tsar. So when you see the stories of Reb Leivik, you can understand that the beginning of all the Botei Chabad started by Reb Leivik in Shul. You see a Meshugah Maise that there was Yidden in jene Zeiten they was forced to go work on Yom Tov. So imagine Yidden was going arbeiten on Rosh Hashanah and on Yom Kippur. Reb Leivik organized a minyan for them. 6 o'clock in the morning. And then when they came back from work, Yom Kippur, they was walking, and they went sehr zerbrochen, und so, they had them gehalten in een weinen. And Reb Leivik was crying with them. He knew that sehr schwer for sie. And on Motzei Yom Kippur, Reb Leivik was sitting the whole night and verbringen mit the Gartel von Tzemach Tzedek. And on what he was verbringen, the Meile von Ayiden, the Meile von Ayidische Neshama. So when you see the story, it's not a simple story. It's mamash, you see the beginning of Botei Chabad. It's there. This meant to organize a minyan for people that are working on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. But this is, now we understand when the Rebbe says, Ich hab gekrogen mein Chinuch, I got it for mein Tate. Before the Rebbe the Shver for mein Tate. So today is a day that we are strengthening our hiskashrus to the Rebbe, hiskashrus alles was der Rebbe mont von uns, and to realize as the Rebbe genommen auf sich the mifzoim to bring the Geula. We have in our Chabad house, we have Spieltoppen von Jam, so we're not durchgegangen. So the Rebbe is talking, as somebody is asking, was wird helfen legen het film mit ein Iden? And the Rebbe is asking, das ist doch a Scheile, was kommt von Amaratzes. Because one time that you're putting on tefillin on a Jew, hast du mal weggestellt in Elam Haba. Hast du mal rausgenommen von der Matze von Karkafto. So the Rebbe took on himself this mission. Was hat sich angehen mit Korban Ha'etzim, the Griechen to every Jew. And this is the day to the verstärken in dem Rebbe's Mifzoim. And we should realize as in the Mifzoim is Poshet, we are Mekarev, Mezarez, the Geula, Teichef Miyad, Chaim.
Said it, the last 2 words, what does that mean?
Teichef Miyad means right away.
Hebrew, eh?
Yes.
Mit Chof Gimel
Chatchile steht Kevitz Lubavitch was printed Chof Gimelov. I think Kevitz Lubavitch was der Friedrich Rebbe hat geschrieben.
Schreibt doch, man weiß nicht sicher.
Telegram ist angekommen, ich bin klar.
Zu wissen, man hat schon gewusst, dass es Chofov, aber nicht gewusst, dass es Farschkie, es ist noch Schkie.
Der Rebbe gedaan den Chof, allem weiß nicht.
Wie hast du heute gedacht, kommt die noch?
Später noch, dann gewusst, dass ich Chof, und ich muss werden falsch genau gespielt.
Same thing, Rabbi? And that was Yiddish too?
Yeah,
Same thing?
same thing. Right away. Teichef Miyad.
In Yiddish too, eh?
Same thing.
J'étais à la bibliothèque, Rav Raaskin. J'ai pris une photo du Zohar du père du Rabbi.
Oh, wow. Voilà.
Incroyable,
He was the Baltic. Man gewusst, dass bringt dem Tichel. Man gewusst.
Ik denk dat je weer gestudeerd met Schäfer met een tichel. Een tichel. Jo, dat kan mag ik aan zeggen. Ik zeg maar een tichel.
Oh, daar hebben we hem een tichel aan.
Dat is de Tichel van Frederik Rebbe.
Ik ben wel kennen.
So he was the Baltic cable in Narcosi. Yeah, yeah.
Was het ook gevraagd?
Dat is het veel. Schäfer. Dat is Schäfer. Maar ja, gewoon een weiße Schäfer. Zo niet komen. Dat de Rabinowitsch is.
Da fragen der Rabinowitsch.
De weiße
Der weiße Schäfer ist geblieben bei der Rabinowitsch. The Shiloh was is.
Nobody knows where it is? Il a dit Rabinovich. C'est qui Rabinovich?
Niet de weiße Schäfer, aber das macht Zeit.
Fragen jede Dorf.
Il a disparu le chauffard blanc?
Non. Nous, on ne sait pas, mais ça ne veut pas dire qu'on... Il faut juste... Yes. Il faut se renseigner chez ceux qui savent.
Mais le chauffard noir, il est chez le rabbin.
Yeah.
Son grand-père, il lui a donné, il lui a redonné. Ah, est-ce que c'est le chauffard que j'ai vu dans la bibliothèque du rabbi? Un chauffard noir que le Rebbe Maharash il était au Kéa?
Très possible. Was?
Het is echt gewoon
Shmuel, bissel chaim. Na 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 ma yin na 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 ma na Yina na 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 mo, yina na 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 ma da da da. Na 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 da ya na 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 ya na 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 ya da. Chaim l'chaim. So it was Giluyim von 40 Shana, Chafov, Tafshin Daled Mem. So I was helping my father to be head counselor in camp in Morocco. And my father told me, I'm going to Chafov, du bleib da, neem ik care van alles. Ich vor. So it was Shabbos Chafov, and a lot of Chassidim went in for this Meirdike Shabbos. Especially that came out such a powerful letter for the first time. Olai hachei v'aschus gadol, the Hatzia, Levakesh, we should learn from the Torah that he had Mesiras Nefesh, Meis Bagelo. So there was a Farbringen Shabbos, and there was a Farbringen Sunday night, and Shabbos, the Rebbe asked the alle was am Zeche gewesen Shabbos sein, so my grandfather with the 4 children went up to the Rebbe, to Namel Chaim, and
Mendel gewendelt?
Von Kfachabad?
Ja.
Ja. Mendel, Schoenberg von England, everybody came. And I didn't know nothing, but my father wrote a letter to the Rebbe. He used this moment, the Eisrotze moment, and hat gefragt, das Scheile zum Rebbe, was nicht geposchte Scheile. Erstens, he wrote to the Rebbe as a hot chavis. So the Rebbe told him, Mitzurav boze $11 lesiluk hachavis. And he wrote to the Rebbe, ich sitze in Morocco, I don't know nothing. He wrote to the Rebbe as ich hab 3 Atzoes. And he's asking the Rebbe to uskleiben.
And bad.
And on Chav Beis Mנחem, the Rebbe circled one name. Das ist das. So, ich hab gar nicht gewusst, ich bin in Marok, ich weiß von gar nicht. Akopani, mein Tat, ich weiß, sie gewinnen allemal verbringen in der Office von Rebbe David eben. Wir fragt dort, wir fragt verbringen und sagen, L'chaim dort. So in front von allem, und mein Vater saw my Schwer. He gave him a kush, he told him, Mazel Tov bechuten. My Schwer didn't even know what he said. And then once he's given, when I came back from Morocco, then it made me gelaufen wissen what's happening, and was so we went out in Cheder Shelul. So she had Tzveikes, she wrote to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe hat geschrieben, the Rebbe was pushing, the Rebbe hat geschrieben, gesagt hat, das ist das. So that was a very big moment, Yamalt. Tafshin Dal Mem, Stami do, die zwischen, ihr seid mit Stami gewähnt dort. Ich hoffe auf Tafshin Dal Mem. Wie denkst du, Stami?
Nicht gewähnt dort?
Nicht gewähnt dort? Chaim, Chaim.
It's interesting that my Vetter, Shmuel, the Rebbe hat ihm gesagt, Mr. Shamash given, he was in Almata, but he never saw Reb Leivik. He's young, Gershman in Almata.
He never saw Reb Leivik.
Und redet mehr gehabt. Nicht nicht mehr mein, natürlich, das ist ein Gewinn auf dem Weg. Und nach einer Stunde Zeit, and the Rebbe said, Tov Shel Lamed Shloshim Shono, the Rebbe asked him, ist damals gegeben, אפשר gegeben Tee, בכל אופן, gewend dort, sagt L'chaim, und er rufen dann zu den
No, there was once by Fabring, and the Rebbe says there is a nechbar lakelim that he doesn't want to.
Well, he really didn't really serve. He served the Reb Tzachana, yeah, because of my mother's story.
Okay, so.
It was later. It's not only this. I know 1 year I didn't think it was Tov Shel Lamed or the first. I don't know. The Rebbe Gershman was waiting there. Now, first of all, they given Tov Shel Lamed Daled. Ich bin nicht gewöhnt, aber die meisten ist after the Fabringen, a day after the Fabringen, they were going back to go to Italy. So the Rebbe downstairs because the camps came that time. And Levi Groner write a motion to Gershomero. So he came into Ganeda with all the kids who were Levi was the first time. And the Rebbe, and when he came there, so she given nissen Pinsel gewählt auf Mechet. The Rebbe came out from the room, and the Rebbe had under him he had something, and he gave out $30 for Shloshim Shona, gave him 10 Storys zu Nissen, 10 Storys von 10 zu geben zu Gershomenu, und $3 to give to Levi. $3 is for Shnasa Shloshim. And then the Rebbe says, when he looked at Gershomenu, and he said, a Grayson Yeshekech, we have to smile like from here to America, from Kuman for the Tatus Yortzeit. This was one time, it was very special.
He was coming every year, that thing.
Yeah. What was one of his special?
Versteht man nicht. Was du hast gesagt.
Ist der?
Das Geld von Ende Werte. Und was hast du gesagt? Er hat es mir gesagt, das ist gesagt.
Ein Dank von Kommen von Jahrzeit.
Jahrzeit, right?
Yeah. So the year that there was the big kinnos of the Shluchim in Russland, the year Tinose, was sehr tired by Rebbe that they went to Alma-Ata, and the plan was to go back. Aber sie kommen nach Hero von Rebbe, und wir soll bleiben von München. Und they didn't know what to do. Because she gave me the planes. Mittamol ist geworden a Ruach Seire. Und ist geblieben auf München. Der Rebbe geworden, soll bleiben von München. Wie kach aber.
Hat nicht gekannt davon.
The plane will not be given.
Nein.
Okay. What you about to say?
Chofov, yeah.
Middle of the summer.
Huh?
Middle of the summer.
It was the kinus HaShluchim, the first time in historia, such a kinus by Rebbe was so precious that they went in Alma-Ata. The Rebbe spoke about it, by the Fabringen. Es given a kinus HaShluchim, und es gegangen, und es given. בסיסמה סופרצת ניצד ביוזים הרי נלך ברוד בסיסמה סופרצת ניצד ביוזים נלך ברוד חסידי חב"ד אנו תלמידי הרבי אשרינו חסידי חב"ד אנו תלמידי אשרינו בסיסמה סופרצת ניצד ביוזים הרבי רוי בסיסמה סופרצת ניצד ביוזים הרבי היי חסידי חב"ד אנו תלמידי הרבי היינו חסידי חב"ד אנו תלמידי הרבי היינו בסיסמה סופרצת ניצד ביוזים הרבי נלך ברוד בסיסמה סופרצת ניצד ביוזים הרבי נלך ברוד חסידי חב"ד תלמידי הרבי אשרינו חסידי חב"ד אנו תלמידי הרבי אשרינו בסיסמה סופרצת ניצד ביוזים נלך ברוד בסיסמה סופרצת ניצד ביוזים ברוד היי חסידי חב"ד אנו תלמידי הרבי אשרינו חסידי חב"ד אנו תלמידי הרבי אשרינו בסיסמה סופרצת ניצד ביוזים ונלך ברוד בסיסמה סופרצת ניצד ביוזים נלך ברוד חסידי חב"ד אנו תלמידי הרבי אשרינו חסידי חב"ד אנו תלמידי הרבי חיים לחיים. There's a Meredith story that shows us how powerful it is when you go Mivtzoim and you register by the Rebbe that you went on Mivtzoim. Here's a story. It was in the year Tov Mem.
Avigdor, talk outside. You don't have to disturb everybody.
He can't. He says no.
I said yes, go outside.
Take him away.
I can run in town.
The year Tov Mem, I was learning in all the Torah, and my father asked the Rebbe that he wants to do a yeshiva's kites. Tov Mem. He wants to do a yeshiva's kites for Baalei Tshuva, and he wants I should come.
Okay.
And also my brother.
Okay.
The Rebbe gave a whole answer about this yeshiva's kites, and he says also totally birtzein bonav sheyich here, but a whole. So we came. It was mamish a yeshiva, and we learned Gemara, Chassidus. And I find out that there's one Mekurev of my father that disappeared. That he was in Skarev, but he went to Eretz Yisrael. He went to Eretz Yisrael to see his mishpacha, and weißt du es, as when you go to Eretz Yisrael, depends where you go. Anyways, he came back, so schien nicht gewesen gar nicht. Ganzen outsogelost. So bothered me a lot. So I was going every day. I knew exactly where he was living, on the street Verle Hanus. And every day, in Morocco, every day I went to knock on his door. And every day they answered me, he's not here. So for 2 months I knocked on the door, and every day I got the answer, he's not here. I came back, I wrote a duch for the Rebbe from the 2 months, and it was the time that the Rebbe was sturming so much about Siyumim. So tzach giton, Siyumim in the 9 days. So there's one street in Casablanca has 8 shuls. So, and it's Shabbos. So we learn, this year is a very special year, it's 50 years from the Miftzah of Siyumim. So we went, the Rebbe says clear in Tov Shel Lamed Hey that you can do also a Siyum on Masechta Midas. So we learned Masechta Midas, we made a Siyum in one shul, we learned again Masechta Midas, we made a Siyum on another shul. In ein Shabbos we went, the ein shul noch ein zweiten Siyumim auf Siyumim. I wrote a duch, and I says, Ono le'erer rachmim rabim mikerev libi be'ad Pinchas sheyichye ben. He should do tshuva. I didn't get an answer, but I got a phone call from my father. Did you write something about this bacher? I said, yes. You're not going to believe. He got a letter from the Rebbe. Nicht a zettel, not a ganze brief. And Rabbi Chodakov wrote to the Rebbe, we're sending to you the letter because you have to...
To your father?
They're sending to my father the letter that he should find them and be moyer. So, you're not going to believe it. It's a ganze brief. And the letter is starting, Pinchas sheyichye, Sholem uvrocha, זה זמן רב שלא שמעתי ממנו. בגשמיס, he never saw the Rebbe, and the Rebbe never saw him b'gashmis. But the only thing that he was doing, he was going on Miftzat Film. So he was in the duch of Miftzat Film. So the Rebbe is writing to him, זה זמן רב, it's been a long time I didn't hear from you. And then the Rebbe is explaining to him that the inem for Shmiras Torah mitzvahs, this is the way. A ganze brief in Shmiras Torah mitzvahs. This happened on Tafshin Mem. But my father was looking for him. He wasn't in Morocco. He found him in France, to Mishpacha, and he called him. And he wrote to him the whole letter. He was reading to him. Anyways, from the year Tafshin Mem, past 24 years, Tovshin Samach Dalet, I was in Paris because the Talmidim, my father just passed away, in Bezir, and the Talmidim of my father, with the Rabbonim there, they made a big, huge shleishim. Came hundreds of people, and they started to write a Sefer Torah. And the Rav Roshi on that time in Paris was the son of Rabbi Shalom Esas from Morocco. And a lot of Choshev Rabbanim came. Then came somebody that he's hugging me. Do you remember me? I said, no. Do you remember somebody that you knocked on his door for 2 months and every day they told you that he's not here? That's me. That's me. I want you should know that the Rebbe's letter changed my life. Chogiton Tshuva. Today I'm giving Shurim in Gemara. I made tshuva. But what's amazing is, the Rebbe is sitting in Brooklyn, New York, and there's a young bocher in Morocco that is verloren geworden. And the Rebbe right away, I wrote a duch, and I'm asking you to do tshuva. And the Rebbe is writing him, Zezman Rav Shelei Shomaiti Mimenu. So we have to know that we are all registered by the Rebbe. We are registered, and we have to understand that Mivtzoim is a heilige Zach, has to be every week. And the Rebbe is asking us, what are we doing to bring the Geula? There's klare siches and verbringens of the Rebbe. What are we doing to bring the Geula? So the Rebbe soll helfen in this heilige Tag. It's mamish a heilige Tag, a Tag was is sehr a emotional day for the Rebbe. The Tag von der Hilula, from sein Vater, sein Vater. And we all know, als was sie vorgekommen in die Jahren, wieder, was der Rebbe gesagt, this is the chinuch that I got from my father. So today is a day to be mechazek a hiskashrus to the Rebbe, and we should know that there is no time. There is a medrash von Yalkut Shim'eni von the year Tovshin Nun Aleph. And on that time the Rebbe gesagt mitzvah lefarsim. Yeah, that time the Rebbe gesagt HaMelech Poras is Iraq. The Rebbe geteicht. The Rebbe took out one line of the medrash, wo steht dort, nas Melech Poras machiv es kol ha'olam. The Rebbe says v'chulu. Because machriv can be also when everybody's in a panic. Akopanim, this medrash is be'eine boso, you see, it's pashut, what happened this year. It was in Sivan, yeah? The Melchama mit Iran, in a Eifen that loy nifkad mimenu ish. Nicht kein plane, nicht kein soldat, mishugene nisim. Und sie klar, dass sie nisim, und sie verbunden mit der Geula, weil es Retzer wegen Melech Poras, wenn Moshiach darf kommen, und steht klar in that Medrash, Bonai altis yaru, higia azman gulaschem. So Rabbi say, there's no time. We are very close, sehr, sehr nahe zu this moment. Wir darf just sich anhalten in dem Rebbes Heroes, in der Rebbes Message, und alles, was der Rebbe hat uns gesagt. Und bei Ezras Hashem, we're gonna see. Teichef Miyad, der Rebbe wird kommen, der Rebbe will verbringen mit us, der Rebbe will say Maimorim, es wird sein Chadish Yameinu Kekedem, aber es darf sein gleich. L'chaim, l'chaim, Tov Shin Pei Hei, we have to finish the Golus. The Rebbe's message is, what is the Rebbe demanding to the government in Eretz Yisrael? Finish the war. That was always the Rebbe demanding. I was in the first Melchemet Lebanon. I was a head counselor in camp by my father, and Rabbi Chil Yosef Zeitlem was there. B'schus Rabbi Chil Yosef, stellt sich vor, as we are in a camp, and we have a tzimoin to hear the Rebbe. B'schus Rabbi Chil Yosef, we got a hookup on Yud Beis Tammuz Tov Shi Mem Beis. We got connected to the Rebbe. Everybody's sleeping, the whole camp is sleeping, and we got connected. And the Rebbe was screaming, finish the war. Was say? And the Rebbe gave a moshel. It's like doing an operation, and the doctors are saying, oy vey, he's bleeding. Let's stop the operation. We're going to continue another time. The Rebbe gave this moshel. It's unbelievable. You see mamish, the Rebbe's words, Kedesh Kodashim, everything what the Rebbe says, everything was mekuyim. Everything. So now, the Rebbe's words that we are Doir HaGeula, it's going to happen, and we have to push it, be inside the Wogen. So Yashikoyach Harav Zettel for organizing the hookup.
Hook them up.
In Casablanca. Nein, in Setat. It was in Setat. But it was in Casablanca also. L'chaim. We should be always...
That time they already had the satellite.
Ah?
It's just a telephone hookup, not the satellite.
No. Satellite. No. A hookup.
Because everybody saw the satellite.
Was?
Kijk van hospital. Een kleine hospital, but it's
That's it, you're done with this world. That's it, you're tired.
No, give me a hospital. So I thank you.
L'chaim. Shashvi Shuva Yisrael B'chodesh Hashvi'i Shuva Yisrael B'chodesh Hashvi'i Shuva Shuva Yisrael
Call a friend in America.
Chaim.
Still in touch with Reb Pinchas?
So lately I'm looking for him.
I look for
I'm looking for him. I'm trying to the shluchim in France to get in touch with them.
L'chaim.
Chaim b'bracha. Hatzlacha rabba. So I hope to the shluchim in France we're gonna get back the kesher.
Somebody put together all the letters that your father got. But to be honest, if you believe, he made copies of all the letters as well.
Yeah.
Was say that, no?
Gibst du a Seder?
I mean, is it published? No,
Derweil noch nicht. Was ist das? Der Brief?
I'm sure there's a lot of why I should hold it.
Yeah, there is. I know Gershon Mendel has a brief for every day of the year.
Yeah. Not every day, but every day of the year. Kimat.
זה 80, ja.
Between him and his wife. Yeah. Very much 7 letters. Gershman got a letter when I was born. Beside my parents. He got a letter. He got a letter special for my birth.
So it was the year Tafshin Yud Gimel. It started even before, because they ran away from Alma town, then they went to Peking, and then they came to Eretz Yisrael. So now my father, he wants to go to the Rebbe. But you can't go out from, impossible to go out from Eretz Yisrael. It's impossible. The government is not giving you reshus. And he's asking the Rebbe, and the Rebbe also is not giving reshus. So Rabbi Yaakov Yosef, he wrote a letter to Rebbe Tzachana, and he's asking Rebbe Tzachana if she can ask the Rebbe, because her son has a meridike tzumoin to go to the Rebbe. Maybe she can ask.
Why did the government let?
Because man darf dann Zavar. Es gewähnt
nothing changed.
I said, when did David Raskin come? He came around Yitzchak, no?
David Raskin came from France,
He didn't go to us.
but he was in Eretz Yisrael. Anyways, one day, he got a long letter, my father. The letter the Rebbe is giving over the head. I said no, and Shoal, Vechozar, Veshoal Ba'akifin. You know what's Ba'akifin? He went on the back of the door and asked. So we understand, he went to Rebbe Tzachana. And Shoal, Vechozar, Veshoal. And I told him that he has to stay in Eretz Yisrael. And the Rebbe is giving over the head. And then Mitamo, the Rebbe writes, but there is another way of dochak v'nichnas, mele du kannst kommen. Sehr a reiche brief. There is dochak v'nichnas. So now, that's it. He has reshus von Rebbe zu kommen, aber jetzt darf nicht mehr reshus von... So he wrote a letter to Ben Gurion. You know who's Ben Gurion? The Reish Mamshala on that time. One day came a letter, Mar Yehuda Leib Raskin from Ben Gurion, a pgisha, and everybody was screaming on my father, because on what that time was a lot of tension between the Tatiyim and the Chilonim. Was hakst? Ja, jene Jorn, sie werden a Sache. A letter, will sich treffen mit ihm. But there was a lot of tension. A lot of people scream on my father. He was come 20 years old. What was Wo bist du gegangen, schicken einen Brief, was legst du uns da rein in Zores? Who needs the problems now? Anyways, the day that he went for the Begisha, everybody was sitting and saying Tehillim. Anyways, when he came to the Begisha, they told him as the Rosh Mepshala is very busy, Begisha mit der Psasar Achutz, right? So somebody else met him von the Nonte. And he told him, nobody is going out from this place, but we have a pina chama for Chabad. And first of all, the Reish Mishol wants to know how, because he wrote a whole letter that Chabad hat sich gehalten stark in Russland in die schwersten Momenten, weil es gewesen ein Rebbe, was hat gestupt, und jetzt will ich fahren zu der Rebbe. So he explained as Chabad in Russland ist durch Mesiras Nefesh. The Reish Mishol wants to know how, wie hat man sich gehalten. So after all the explanation, he told them, we have a pina chama for Chabad. He even told them details. My Tat geschickt die ganze Sache zum Rebbe. He even told them details, als wenn Salman Shazar hat gerufen für die Votes von der Medina, der erste Mal ist nicht dadurch, der zweite Mal der Friedrich Rebbe gegeben Brache. So they believe, als der Friedrich Rebbe hat gegeben Brache, sie seien dankbar zu Chabad.
Friedrich Rebbe hat dir gerne.
Ah?
Hat geholfen, Shazar, der Friedrich Rebbe. Nicht nur die Brache, begasch mir sehr geholfen.
In dem.
Amerika gesprochen.
Mamisch.
Sache. Rebbe.
So this is how my father came, the only guest that came from Eretz Yisrael on Elul Tovshin Yud Gimel. He was the only one that came for Tishrei Tovshin Yud Dalet. But the Tanai was, it's a visa only for a year, then you have to go back. And then at Zachan gave him the Geschäft, you had the time to renew it. It's given. And ein Tag was very serious, that's it. Er vor und zurück, sie stocken an der Weg. So he asked Rabbi Chodakov, er kann reingehen auf Yechidus. He told him, nu, du wirst doch sicher nicht bleiben lang, so you should be the last one. So it was around Yud Beis Tammuz, it was a whole night Yechidus, and he came, is reingegangen, der Letzte. Bet na Brocha, bleiben bei Rebbe. Der Rebbe hat gesagt, auf dem bist du gewesen, eine ganze Nacht. Von Amerika wird man den nicht rauswerfen. Von Amerika wird man den nicht rauswerfen. וכך הבו, dat Baruch Hashem, ist geblieben. Guckt euch das nicht, Ja?
Ja, schon geben Harik bis Tofshin Lamed Aleph, Yof Miyudi. Golda Meir's cousin is given in Italia, Myers. Sauer given.
Yale given Harik.
Ja? Ich weiß, aber er doch gefahren.
Nein, später gewonnen kann schon.
Noch 50 schon.
Rebbe muss euch geweiht.
Leer.
Kann doch am Einsatz.
Der Rebbe hat gesagt.
Er hat doch Harik. Er hat nicht gewollt davon. Er hat gewollt davon.
Bis hat nicht gekommen dem okay. Offiziell okay. Myers, ich bin dort von Golda Meir. Er ist ein Rohr, dort. Ja, das war irgendwie ein Sefer. Ja, das Sefer geht bald raus.
Ja, er arbeitet auf 2 Swarm. Weidig. L'chaim. soll er mir hören, was sie gewöhnen. Was ist der Rebbe gearbeitet?
Was?
Mit Shazar. Sagst du, der Friedrich Rebbe hat gearbeitet mit Shazar?
Ich weiß nicht was, aber ich weiß, dass Shazar gekommen ist, Friedrich Rebbe, und dort Friedrich Rebbe gehen Mädels, wie wir soll reden, wo wir soll gehen, wo wir soll tun. Friedrich Rebbe ist
Mama.
Ja, wir kennen es. Shazar hat gewählt in Amerika, er gewählt mal Friedrich Rebbe Sachen, Friedrich Rebbe Posten, und kennen.
Der Friedrich hat geschickt, aber ich der muss zu einer Nase gehen in Zaba. Friedrich Rebbe, das war nicht in der Gäste.
So Anash.
So eine Nase, die Wochen sollen gehen in Zaba.
So geht's noch in Fassen sein.
Es gibt auch Kompass.
Was geht's denn?
Mein Tat hat mir erzählt, dass er war wissen will.
Glaubst du, wir sollen nicht mehr fassen sein?
Ja,
Was wir immer was?
Ja.
Er sagt, sei gedruckter Brief. Ja?
Das geht doch. Hey, das. Das ist so, ja, sehr Kern.
Tov Sheches ist... dachte sich, alle, kiemat alle Filme sind gegangen. Es gibt eine große Sakone.
Das ist ja.
Ah?
ist aber hat חושב nicht nur gesund, da bin ich auch nicht nur gegen das aber ich nehme mir mal brauche ich kann da mein Haus der Dame die doch so mit kleinen Dame da kommen alle gehen da frage ich
Und das sie gewähnt, wenn es noch gewähnt. Shiva-Bach hat sie später.
hat sie gearbeitet
Hat sie gearbeitet.
hat gearbeitet und das hat natürlich mal so gehen ich bin ja auch mit das Ärger was heißt was gehen da bist gehen zu was
Später, wenn ich 7 Wochen gehst, nicht gehen.
7 Wochen ist eine andere Sache.
Dem ist doch klare Sicherheit von Reben.
7 Wochen ist eine andere Sache. Das wir die ganze Mukhamen dort mit die Formen machen. Der Typ hat
Nicht zu machen wegen Yeshiva.